orientation, gender identity, economic status, or physical ability. We come together to seek deeper meaning and understanding from each other and the world around us. Your presence here today is a gift that brings us closer to that understanding. We are an active community that lives its values beyond the hours of Sunday service, and I would like to call your attention to the following. From social action. This month, let's focus on Thanksgiving needs for people to people. For example, dessert mixes, gravy, instant potatoes, cranberry sauce, broth, and staying warm for Homeward Bound. Examples are long sleeve tees, socks, gloves, hats, warm undies. Thank you. You are invited to join Peg Stebbins' family to celebrate Peg's life during a memorial open house at our fellowship on Saturday, October 25th between 2 and 4 p.m. Peg became a member of our congregation in 2018, shortly after moving to Ohio to be near family. There will be some musical tributes, sharing of family memories, and some of Peg's favorite baked treats. Join us for the first ever UUFWC Chili Cook-Off and Game Night on Sunday, October 26th from 5 to 7. Create a batch of chili, bring a side dish, or be a taster. The winning chili receives a $25 Bueller's gift certificate. See the lobby for entry costs, sign up, and other details. Any questions? Contact Sammy Beery, Mary Wicks, or Jay Clemmy with the fundraising committee. If you would like to find out more about our activities, feel free to ask Karen Skubik, our membership coordinator.
Thank you, Rachel, and good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. You know, a lot of people come here for the feeling of community and to find community. And I just want to share, it was so neat. A lot of you were at the No Kings rally yesterday, and it was just so neat to see if someone saw someone else from the UU, they just it was like magnets, you know, they just, and there was one point where a picture was taken with, I think about 20 folks from here were in it. That was only half of the people from our congregation there. So it was just neat to see that. And then last night there was a campfire out here by our fire pit, and it was just such a lovely evening to be out. So thank you all for being a part of this community. And if you're new here and you want to have a tour of the facility or find out more, I'll be back in the back of the sanctuary after the service.
Good morning. I'm Adam Keating. I'm the chair of our safety committee, and I wanted to let you all know of a change that we're making here at the fellowship. The safety committee is recommended and the board agrees that for the time being on Sunday mornings that our front doors will lock at 10:10 during the service. You may or may not have known, but the doors had previously remained open during the service, and due to our current climate and need for this added layer of Swiss cheese, we've decided to lock the doors. We though want to balance that feeling of safety and security with welcoming. So, and feel that it's very important that we still remain a welcoming congregation. As such, we will have a person who's assigned to be in the lobby to open the doors for any latecomers, which are none of you guys, because it doesn't close for another 4 minutes. And to be that person to be able to still allow people in. That person will also have the judgment to be able to decide if there's someone that we don't want coming in at that particular time. Right now, that role is filled by members of the safety committee and the board, and should not affect how we are able to come and go and egress from the building. So, but should you be late, hopefully that person will be attentive to be able to let you in, but wanted to let you all know that that change is happening. I'm happy to have any questions, concerns. Anyone wants to talk to me after the service about this, know that we have taken input from members of the congregation, both pro and con for this particular decision, and that it's a season and that we're always willing to revisit it depending on how this works. Thanks so much. So they're on a timer for this, and so as a regular timer for the congregation. Sorry, Trevor asked, will the doors be unlocked at some time after the service? So, and it's yeah, it's on whatever the regular schedule was before, and I'm not actually sure what that is. So we'll do that. Thanks.
Sure. Was that okay? Okay. All right. Thank you. That's a tough one, isn't it? How do we balance safety and welcome? How do we live into our values in dangerous times? You're going to find out this week earlier, I was at a retreat of Unitarian Universalist ministers of the Northeast Ohio area. And guess what we talked about? Yeah. Religion. Very good. And is our theology sustainable in these times? And it's a tough question. It's a really tough question that we have to deal with right now, and I am wrestling with it. I'll give you a heads up. I don't have a really quick, pithy answer for you for that. It's going to take me 20 minutes to explain. And the one thing I do know is ours is a religion for the world. We have a theology that can save the world, even if I cannot describe it in 2 sentences. And we need it right now, because it's really, really difficult. You cool? You want to help me light the chalice later? You think about it. So, and with that, welcome. Thank you for joining us here today. Ours is a welcoming space where we value everyone equally. Thank you for choosing to worship with us. Please open your hearts, quiet your minds, silence your cell phones as we join together in this moment of worship.
Our chalice lighting this morning is The Wisdom to Know by Reverend Michelle Collins. We light this chalice as we learn to hold both tenderness and strength. May this flame illuminate the wisdom to know when compassion calls us to offer comfort and when it demands courageous action. Let us now rise in body or spirit as we are singing our opening hymn, Wake Now My Senses. The music can be found in the gray hymnal, number 398.
Want to come up and get a little closer to the story? Any kids or teens or anybody at all? Hi, Hawthorne.
I just wish Hawthorne had a little bit more enthusiasm.
I know, man. I need to suck up some of your energy. Ugh. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Yes, you can. All right. Good morning. All right. Alaric, would you like to check the Wonder Box? Let's see what we have in there today. What do we have?
A dog and a crown.
A dog and a crown. Okay, bring those on over. A dog and a crown. Something our story is about. Any guesses? The dog who became king. I don't know. We'll find out. Okay.
I think it's that.
You think it's the dog who became king? Let's find out. Well, once upon a time, there lived a king who cared for nobody but himself. He had grown rich from the high taxes he had forced his people to pay, while they had become poorer and poorer. He lived in a gorgeous palace, while the poor people who built it for him still lived in very plain thatched huts. The king's table was always heaped with mountains of delicious food, while most of his people had only one plain meal a day. But the heartless king did not care. If he had what he wanted, that was enough for him. Well, one day, a hunter came to the palace gate, intending to teach the heartless king a lesson. The hunter brought with him an enormous dog. Can you hold up our enormous dog? A little shake up there. Vicious, brutal dog. Okay. And the king was fond of hunting, and this enormous dog fascinated him. So the hunter and the dog were both welcomed into the palace grounds. But the enormous dog was no ordinary dog, and her bark was like the roar of thunder. Anybody want to test a roar of thunder bark? Oh, no. That's pretty good. I think that. Okay, pretty good. You got a bark? All right. So this roar, barking dog. Sorry, I got so excited about the barking I lost my place. Okay, but the enormous dog was no ordinary dog, and her bark was like the roar of thunder. The first time she opened her big mouth and barked, the awful noise shook the walls of the palace and frightened the king. And if the dog had stopped with one or two barks, the matter might have been forgotten. But again and again, her fierce barking shook the palace and the earth itself. Nobody in the palace could hear themselves talk, and the king was desperate and sent for the hunter. He asked, "Why does your dog make such a deafening noise?" "The dog is hungry," said the hunter. Well, immediately the king ordered a big plate full of meat, and in almost no time at all, the dog ate it all up. Licked the plate clean, and started barking again. A second plate of meatful was brought. This the dog disposed of just as quickly as the first, and the dog began barking again. Over and over the plate was filled, and over the enormous dog quickly ate the whole plateful and began barking as loudly as ever. The king was getting angry. He called the hunter and said, "You and your dog must leave this palace at once. We can't endure this deafening noise any longer." But the hunter was firm. "Your Majesty," he said, "we have been sent to you by the one greater than you are. We are here to stay." The king was frightened. He grasped the arms of his chair and stared at the hunter. He was not used to having anyone speak to him in this manner. "Will nothing satisfy the hunger of this dog?" the king said at last. "Nothing that is easy for you to give," said the hunter. "Your Majesty, there are people in this kingdom who are eating all the food and are not sharing it with those who work in the field to make the food grow. As a result, there are people who are always hungry. And this dog, this special dog, feels the hunger of every person in this kingdom who does not have enough food to eat. As long as even one person is hungry, this dog is going to keep barking." Well, on hearing this, the king was even more frightened than ever. It had never entered his thoughts that he had been doing anything wrong. He had always just done what he wanted and got his own way. He had thought that the people of the kingdom were just supposed to do exactly what he wanted. But he was now angry from his head to his feet, inside and out. Either he would go crazy hearing this barking, or something would have to be done. So he called his wise advisors, and here they are, his wise advisors, and asked, "What are we going to do? What do you think the king should do about this dog problem?" What do you think?
Give them back food.
Give the people food? You think that would solve the problem? Any other ideas of what the king should do?
Make the taxes lower.
Oh, well, you're really okay. So if the taxes were lower, the people might have more money. You'd be a very noble leader there, Hawthorne. Okay, well, let's find out what they decided to do. Try as hard as they could, the advisors could only see two possible solutions. Either the enormous dog must be killed, or else every hungry person in the kingdom needs to be fed. No one was willing to kill the dog. So that meant there was only one thing left to do. Everybody in the kingdom would be fed. Isn't that exciting? "Put all the servants on the palace grounds to work at once," he commanded. "Go to the storerooms, get all the bags of rice you can find. Go to the cupboards and get vegetables and fruits and meats and cheeses. Go to the gardens and get everything we can eat. Command the servants to find all the people who are hungry. Give them generously of these foods, and keep on giving food until not a single person in the land is hungry." Well, the advisors hurried away to do as the king commanded, and soon there was shouting and laughing, hustling and bustling all over the place. In fact, the royal servants made so much noise, they really couldn't hear the bark of that enormous dog anymore. A long line of carts piled high rolled through the palace all day. They rolled through the land and giving food until every home had something to eat. And at last, the day came when the enormous dog finally stopped barking. It laid down beside the king's chair. The dog was satisfied, and all the people inside the palace ground were happy and at peace in their minds. For the next few years, the dog stayed by the king's side to make sure he didn't revert to his old ways, right? Had to keep an eye on him. And a few times the dog barked to remind the king about justice. And each time the king remembered the important lesson he had learned. Finally, the dog was convinced the king truly understood the meaning of justice, and one morning she just stood up, walked out of the palace, and went to bark for justice in a new land. And that's the story, excuse me, of the king and the dog. And I think before we go, we need to have 3 good barks for justice. Are you ready? On your right, ready? Woof! 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 Okay. Well done. All right, thank you. We're going to head to class now.
I'm just learning.
You can take that with us.
I'm skipping the dog. Sam.
We'll bring the dog too.
Go in love, our hearts go with. I toned up. Go in joy, our hearts go to. Learn in love and grow in wisdom. Shine your light in all you do. Y'all are pretty cool. Please join me now in the spirit of meditation and of prayer, of sacred time. Think of the dog. There's so many metaphors. And the one that comes to my mind is the one of 2 wolves that live inside you, one of fear and one of love. And which one are you going to feed? It would be a beautiful gesture for us to have a companion by us 24/7 to remind us, are you feeling the love? Who would press their cold nose against your face when you started to become cranky or hateful. Who, when you were sad, would nudge that nose under your arm and ask to be petted, to remind you that love still exists. We are a faith that is centered in love. We are a faith that demands that we be the dog, that we are the ones who feel the pain of others, and that we are the ones who bark. It is a hard time to feel love. It is a hard time to bear witness to pain. The good thing is, none of us do it alone. We have this sacred community to share that sacred obligation. We can bark together, but the most comforting thing for me is knowing we run with a pack that will take care of each other. May it be so. We come in each week with our own joys and sorrows from the week before. If there is something that is weighing on your heart today, something that is hard for you to put down, hard for you to deal with on your own, as we sing Spirit of Life, I encourage you to come up to our Joys and Sorrows altar, to take a stone and to put your sorrow on that stone. And just for the time here, let it wash away. Let it be supported by the community around you. And if there is something that lifts your heart, I know some of you were with 2,000 of your best friends yesterday. And that's a powerful moment. If you want to hold that sense of community and that sense of joy in your heart and maybe let it ripple out, put it on the stone, and let it ripple through the water. Cheryl Wirtz from our pastoral care team is here. Steve Berg is out in the lobby. If you want to meet with someone from the pastoral care team, please let them know after service. If you'd like to meet with me this week, if there's something on your mind, let me know while we're at the Joys and Sorrows station or after service, and I'll be glad to set up a time to meet with you. Please join us now in singing Spirit of Life as we do our Joys and Sorrows ritual.
Our faith is centered on the belief that we can make this world a better place for all who dwell in it. In order to realize that vision, we need both the motivation and the means. Your donation helps the community put its faith into action by supporting our programming and facilities. Each month, we choose an agency to receive half of the donations that are not designated for another purpose. In October, we will share the plate with Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is a nonprofit organization that provides a variety of reproductive health services and sexual education, contributes to research in reproductive technology, and advocates for the protection and expansion of reproductive rights. Planned Parenthood's central mission is to help people live full, healthy lives, no matter your income, insurance, gender identity, sexual orientation, race, or immigration status. The Planned Parenthood motto is, care no matter what. For those who are watching online or who do not carry cash, you can donate on our website by scanning the QR code in the order of service and on the screen. The offering will now be collected and gratefully received. Please join me in the unison reading. The words are on the screen. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. Let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others. Today's reading is When the World Numbs, Stay Tender by Reverend Cameron Trimble. We are being conditioned to shut down, slowly, steadily, and almost imperceptibly. The barrage of cruelty, confusion, spectacle, and spin has a cumulative effect. It wears on our capacity to feel, to care, to respond with presence rather than reflex. We are being trained through repetition to expect harm and then to normalize it. That is the danger of this moment. Not just political collapse or climate unraveling or the erosion of public trust, but the numbing of our souls. Tenderness, then, is not weakness. It is resistance in its most radiant form.
We are being conditioned to shut down. Anybody feel that way? Yeah. I don't know about you, but I'm a bit numb from all that has been going on in the world, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone. Did anybody talk about this yesterday between 12 and 2 o'clock maybe? A little sick and tired of this barrage of tyranny. It was certainly brought up at that minister's retreat I mentioned earlier. All of us who were there are exhausted. We're exhausted by all of the vitriol and hatred and discrimination that has been normalized over the past few years. And the question we brought up was, how do we, how do we and our faith meet the needs of these times? How does our Unitarian Universalist theology meet the challenge of today? Spoilers, we did not come up with an answer. At least not a pithy answer that would fit on a bumper sticker or a lapel pin or a business card. But that makes sense, because after all, ours is not a simple theology. Those of you may understand this, that we're not one of a simple theology, when somebody has asked you, so what is it that you believe exactly? And you've spent 3 to 5 minutes sputtering for an answer. You know how difficult it can be to describe what our theology is. So the question is, can our theology meet the needs of this moment if we can't even define it? One of the things we discussed at this retreat was what it means to hold love at the center of our theology. It's love. That's got to be a good thing, right? We all love, right? That seems like that should be good enough. Love. The problem with love that I have, and I've mentioned this before, is love has an awful lot of meanings. And I brought this up at the retreat. It's like, I love my wife. I love my congregation. And I love chili. All in very different ways. So when we talk about having a faith that is centered in love, we really need to go deep into what that word love means. And I feel that the love that is the center of our faith could probably best be described as agape love. Some of you familiar with the term agape. It is the Greek. Greek had the 6 different words for love. And the Greek translation is basically, agape love is the love of God for humans and the love of humans for God. And this is a wonderful definition if you grew up with a positive relationship with God. Because then you have a better idea of what that love encompasses. But how do us who have had difficulty with God define agape love? How do those of us who grew up without the belief in a God at all, or just believe there is no God, how do we translate agape love? There's one definition that I've heard that I like, and that is agape is a selfless love presently committed to the well-being of others. It sounds really nice, but you have to think about the depth of that word selflessly. To selflessly love another, right? To be committed to their well-being. The subtext may be over yours. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King described agape as follows. Agape does not begin by discriminating between worthy and unworthy people, or any qualities that people possess. It begins by loving others for their sakes. It is an entirely neighbor-regarding concern for others, which discovers the neighbor in everyone it meets. Therefore, agape makes no distinction between friend and enemy. It is directed towards both. End quote. Agape is love for all without condition. You do not need to belong to our tribe. You do not need to belong to our society, our political party, or our religious community. Agape means you are loved, period. Sounds good. And my question is that sustainable in our time? How do we love those who hate us? How do we love those who not only hate us, that not only wish to do us harm, but are actively in the process of doing us harm? How do we love those who are destroying everything we believe in? Am I the only one wrestling with this right now? Because I'm going to be honest with you. Looking at the hatred that's going on, I hate to say it, it's getting things done. Hatred is getting things done. We have seen marginalized communities blamed for all of this country's problems, and folks are believing it. We have demonized immigrants, transgender folks, racial minorities, the poor, feminists, atheists. We have people who believe they are responsible for all of the ills of the world. I see some of you shaking your heads, go, yep, that's me. I'm in that group. Good for you. Because we're being blamed for all of that. People are blaming us for the degradation of America. And it's worked. The people in power who are pushing this narrative are now riding roughshod over the over the values of inclusion and of liberty and of justice solely for their own interests. We have seen hatred and fear accomplish a lot. And boy, isn't it tempting to use those same techniques in order to get what we want, in order to win back what was lost. My friends, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Who said it? Who said it? Okay, Martin Luther King. There we go. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And I know it is tempting to walk that road of hatred, to walk that road of separation and demonization because it gets results. And it only makes things worse. How many of you know the term FAFO? All right, Jim's laughing, and I know why. And I know a couple of you know. We're going to clean this up for Sunday. FAFO, it's an online, I almost want to call it a philosophy, or it's an online thought. And it's basically the idea that people get what they deserve when they do things that are, let's say, less than ideal. FAFO stands for, using Sunday church language, fool around and find out. You can guess which word I've replaced. And it is steeped in the concept of schadenfreude, joy in another's misery. And in this case, the misery is something that the person may have helped to bring about themselves, hoisting themselves on their own petard. And one of the things we've seen an example of in the FAFO online community has been the cuts to Medicaid recently. How many of you have heard about the cuts to Medicaid causing rural hospitals to shut down? A lot of these districts voted overwhelmingly for a person who would cut those programs. Stated it bald-faced. I want you to think, what would happen right here in Worcester if the hospital system closed down? What would happen if, to get any sort of medical care, you had to drive to Cleveland or Akron? 45 minutes to an hour, whether it's a checkup visit or an emergency. What would happen? What would be the results of that? Is that a good thing? More importantly, does anyone deserve that? Does anyone deserve that? And when, fortunately, on the online communities I tend to inhabit, Reddit and TikTok, not the best places for humanity, there are a lot of people who use that FAFO philosophy. Serves you right. FAFO, my friends, fool around and find out. You get what you voted for. I understand. I sympathize with that reaction. And no one deserves to have that happen to them. I don't care who they voted for. You know who else doesn't care? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. There's been a little video of her going around, and she's been talking about how does she deal with these people who hate her. Those of you who know AOC know that she's gotten a little bit of an attack from the political opponents, and she's someone who maybe doesn't shy away from being a little feisty back at them. A ton of respect for her. And she was asked about how she handles this hatred, and she said, quote, "I don't care if someone hates me or not. That will never change the fact that I am going to fight for them to have health care. I want MAGA to have health care. I want MAGA to be paid a living wage. Considering everything that woman has undergone from her political opponents, I would not begrudge her a little bitterness. And yet, she has leaned into the idea that all are worthy of basic dignity. She understands that hate cannot drive out hate. She understands agape. She understands the kind of love that is the center of our faith. That is the love we, as Unitarian Universalists, are called to live. One of the interesting conversations I had with my colleagues this week, and this, brace yourselves, folks, because we are going to talk about the concept of Unitarian Universalist sin. Yeah, right? When I first heard somebody in the room of UU ministers say, well, the UU sin, and I did a double take. And if any of you know the minister of the Shaker Heights congregation, Randy Partain, Randy is not someone who I would qualify as being a conservative in UU theology. And so when Randy says, UU sin, I was like, unpack that for me, please, Randy. And Randy is brilliant. And Randy has an empathy that is astounding. And this is how they explained it to me. I want us to start with one of our UU values, and that's interdependence. That we are all connected, right? Our actions have a ripple effect on others. Can we agree with that? We're all connected. We need to consider the consequences of our actions. And the thing with the interdependent web is we don't have a choice. Think about it. You don't get to opt in or opt out of the interdependent web. We are all connected. You might want to disconnect because there may be some people who are hard for you to connect with. But we don't get to make that choice. When we demonize another, when we start to put qualifiers on what we consider that connection to be, when we start to try and separate ourselves and other ourselves or other groups, marginalize those groups, when we start to try and disconnect from that web, that is UU sin. When we hear about the policies that demonize the humanity and deny the humanity of others, that goes against our theology of love, and that is considered UU sin. To let you all know, I am not going to be adopting that language on a regular basis. The word sin has an awful lot of baggage to it. But we do need to talk about the things that do go against our faith, that are against our values, that are against our beliefs. And I think we can agree that the exclusion and failure to recognize the humanity of others is against our faith. Inherent worth and dignity. We are all connected. And if our faith is centered in that agape love that is unconditional to another, we are all about connection. Our faith is centered in connection. And we need that faith right now because we are living in a world where disconnection is the order of the day. Empathy has been touted as weakness. and oppression has been lifted as order. We are living in a time where love, deep, connecting, agape love is seriously lacking in our society. Where so many of us are being seduced to turn to separation, to othering, to dehumanization. And if we fall into that trap, we abandon our faith and our values when we need it the most. As our reading said, tenderness is not weakness, it is resistance in its most radiant form. The other thing about love that is really difficult is love has a softness to it in our interpretation. Love is not soft. Loving someone does not mean letting them walk all over you. Living into agape love does not mean letting others get away with evil. If anything, agape love calls us to resist. Agape love works to protect those who are being harmed. It holds people accountable, and here's the asterisk, it holds them accountable without malice. Yeah, that's the tricky one, isn't it? I hold you accountable, but I have no hate in my heart for you. Boy, there are some people I really want to hold accountable and maybe enjoy it a little bit. But agape love tells us to hold people accountable without malice. That is a key. Agape love, working to make sure all are taken care of, brought so many people together yesterday across this country. Do you know how many arrests there were over all these protests across the country? Big ol' goose egg. Love, nonviolence, taking care of each other. Agape love brought us together, and it's a beautiful thing. And here's the other thing with that. Agape love does not end on 2 o'clock on Saturday. Agape love does not end on 2 o'clock on Saturday. We need to continuously work to bring love and empathy back. We need to resist the forces of othering and disconnection. And there are myriad of ways of doing it, whether it is refusing to miss a single election, no matter how small, whether it's refusing to comply with an unlawful order. And I can get in trouble for saying this, but I'll tell you right now, Jim Crow and slavery were lawful. So maybe not complying with a lawful order that goes against our faith. That's a form of resistance some of y'all may choose. Some of you, form of resistance is just going to be taking care of the people who are in need. Hospitality, care. There are a lot of people who are being attacked in this world. And you can fight those who are attacking them, or better yet, you can take care of the people who are being attacked. They need your love too. So often we work on the people who are causing the harm and we forget the harm that's been done. We need to take care of those who have been harmed and ensure their safety. And the thing with this, we have to do this consistently, loudly, and I will almost say obnoxiously. We have a faith that calls us to action. And there is nothing wrong with lifting that up. And the telling people, I'm a Unitarian Universalist. I believe in the love and dignity of everyone, and what you are doing is dehumanizing them. And that is against my faith, that is against my moral code, that is against my religion. And there is nothing wrong with claiming a religion of universal, unconditional, agape love and being proud to love fiercely. Because, my friends, right now we need to love the hell out of this world, and we can no longer be shy to do it. We, as a faith, have a lot of work to do if we want to make sure our theology of love is made real in this world. And our world needs it now more than ever. Please, may it be so. Let's all love together. Let's all rise in body or in spirit and sing our closing hymn, Our World is One World.
Our world is one world. What touches one affects us all. The seas that wash us round about the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is one world. The thoughts we think affect us all. The way we build our attitudes with love or hate, we make a bridge or wall. Our world is one world. Its ways of wealth affect us all. The way we spend, the way we share, are the rich or poor, who stand or fall. Our world is one world, just like a ship that bears us all, where fear and greed make many holes, but where our hearts can hear a different call.
Just go and love the hell out of the world, friends. Go out there understanding that this world needs you. This world needs you to connect, to recognize that there are people among us who are feeling disconnected. And to other them is to only other ourselves. Don't be afraid to love the hell out of the world. May it be so.
Thank